6 questions. Ball's on the tee. Gator won the toss. Will you accept?
I accept.
Or you defer?
I will accept the kickoff.
All right, Gator, I like it. Be aggressive, my friend. Here we go. First question, Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Ryan Day is 48-6. If they lose Saturday night, how hot should Ryan Day's seat be?
I think Ohio State fans already have the button depressed, and it's probably already on button 2 of the 3 levels because they're crazy out there. I do not. Personally, I don't have the button even depressed to 1 level at this point. However, it is fall, so starting to get ready to hit a button if they were to lose this game. It's a big game for Ohio State. It's going to take a while for me to say he's got to go, but it's just considering what the temperature is right now. It's nice out still.
Dude's 48-6.
Yeah.
He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's clearly a good coach. Can we learn from the Jim Harbaugh thing? Who couldn't beat Ohio State? And now they've got their coach backed into a corner who say he can't beat Michigan. I mean, honestly, I think it would. I don't think it should be hot at all. Will it be? Probably. Should it be? I don't think it should be, but I don't know. I let that fan base be that fan base, but I don't think it should be.
I feel like I got 2 non-answers from you guys, man.
I mean, the question was, should it be? How hot should it be? I don't think it should be hot at all.
I don't think it should be hot at all either. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, if they lose to Notre Dame, that's no shame. You know, it's Notre Dame. I understand the expectations and the standards that they have put out in Ohio State, but he still has the rest of the season. I mean, if things go really bad, sure they can get hot, but I don't think it. Well, if he loses Notre Dame, it should not be hot.
Keep this in mind. That offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, is going to be a hot commodity. Ohio State fans love him, and if they don't beat Notre Dame, they've got games against Michigan and Penn State as well. If things go south, that fan base is going to turn on their own, and they don't want to lose Brian Hartline to another program like, say, Michigan State, who may come calling for him.
All right, early in the week so far, but the betting lines are out as they always are. And according to VISN, 81% of the money is on Colorado plus 21 at Oregon. Whose side you got on this one?
I like the Buffs plus the 21. That's a huge number. The problem that they have is they don't rush the passer. And Bo Nix right now is completing 77% of his passes for 8 touchdowns and no picks. And if he gets to stand back there like a statue and have a field day, I like Oregon to win, but 21 is too many points. I respect Coach Prime. Shedeur Sanders quite frankly, had a Heisman moment with the 98-yard drive where he completed 106 yards worth of passes because of penalties. But they're without Travis Hunter. That hurts. So I'm with the 80. What is it? 81% of the money is on Colorado plus 21. I'm in that group.
I love Shedeur Sanders. I love Deion Sanders. I love this story, but I think the Cinderella slipper comes off a little bit this week. I would take Oregon giving up the points if I'm forced to choose between the two. Oregon is a big-time program. They've got a big-time quarterback as well. That's an offense that's just going to roll. I don't think Colorado's got the studs on defense. With no Travis Hunter, good luck. I expect Colorado will score some points, but I think Oregon's gonna rack up a big total against the Buffs.
Yeah, I do not like betting against Coach Prime, but without Travis Hunter, man, I think it's gonna be really, really tough. Colorado, he's gonna get him. This just comes down to fading the public. I'm just gonna fade the public. This is just too much money on Colorado, so I just go back to what do I fall back on? I fade the public when it comes to betting. Lincoln Riley and USC, they've banned a member of the media from covering USC football for 2 weeks. Now, apparently it's because of several infractions, but people say otherwise. Is this way out of bounds for USC to do?
Well, if it's done because a reporter heard some comments made between players before they hit the podium and the players weren't addressing the media, and then they report on it of what was said before they hit the podium, yeah, there should be some repercussions for that. I mean, it's off the record stuff. It's reporting it is an absolute no-no, and you're really running the risk of of being a credible reporter when you do something like that.
Well, look, I don't think banning him's the appropriate thing.
It's 2 weeks.
It's what they should do is call him in and talk to him. And I've been talked to about reporting off the record stuff that I screwed up, and they had a valid point. And this has happened with more than just Michigan, just so people know. And I've watched other reporters get called in about stuff that they heard and went with when maybe they shouldn't have. But yes, it was two players talking before they got to the podium, and USC has a policy. I think when you start banning media members like that, you're gonna lose that battle. And so I think I understand their frustration if it was said off the record. If you have the players' approval, though, say, "Hey, I heard you say," because you know what the kid was saying. The kid was saying, "I'm scared talking to the media." And so the reporter then talked to his dad, and his dad thought it was funny. But did you get the kid's approval to run with that story is my question. But at the end of the day, I think it's an overreaction by USC.
Apparently, that was the final straw, and they're using all these other small infractions that everyone does, by the way, like when, against this reporter. Because, like, when, you guys all have been in the press room, when they say last question and someone asks another question, they're saying, well, that reporter violated that. We said last question. So, I mean, they're using everything they can. I'm not even sure they are able to ban a media member, or if that's the job of the reporter's, boss, right? With that being said, at first glance, I don't like banning media, but I don't know all the infractions and everything that went into it. If you did violate something that's a clear, a violation, then yeah, I guess they can ban you, but it's just hard for me to say without all the details. Nick Saban is handing the QB reins back to Jalen Milroe after a disastrous outing last week by Alabama. I mean, you got to ask the question, did he make a mistake in benching him in the first place?
No, not at all. They didn't lose the game. They wanted to find out what they had in Tyler Buckner, and they wanted to find out what they have in five-star redshirt freshman Ty Simpson. They're still playing for the Southeastern Conference. It was a non-conference game against an overmanned opponent that they didn't exactly impress against, but they're trying to put their best foot forward and still win the SEC. Do they look like they're in trouble? Yes. Do they look like they have a quarterback? No. How do I think this thing is going to shake out? As an outsider looking in, I just kind of wonder if Ty Simpson's eventually going to be given this job because he's the five-star redshirt freshman and they start playing for the future a little bit. But I don't think it was a mistake.
I think it was a mistake. I think you have a quarterback that is a little bit of a project. He got a chance to play last year. He's building. He's getting better. And this is a game that he needed to play in because it was a team that you were outmatched. And he could have maybe a field day at it and get some confidence going to the rest of the season here. I think he's their best option at quarterback right now. The problem with Alabama is that this isn't your typical Alabama team that is reloaded at every position. They don't have the studs everywhere, and quarterback happens to be one of them. You got a redshirt freshman who's a five-star. Great, but Milroe was the guy that's got that experience, and I think you'd want to cultivate that a little bit.
I don't think it was a mistake. I think Nick Saban was unsure, and he had to find out for sure who his quarterback was. They didn't lose the game, so no harm, no foul. They didn't look pretty at all, but now they move forward, and the most important thing is they're going to stick with one guy, and they did not lose a game. At number 24, Iowa is the only ranked team for the Big Ten West. Will they be the only ranked team for the Big Ten West when the season is done?
I don't even think Iowa is going to be ranked when the Big Ten season is done. I mean, they still have they got a big game this week against Penn State that's going to knock them out of the top 25. They still have games. Look, Michigan State, don't know what that's going to look like. Wisconsin, they're at Wisconsin. That's not going to be a cakewalk. They're home against Minnesota. I just don't see any team out there really making a big splash. Minnesota has a couple of tough games left this season as well. They're not even ranked at this point. So I just don't see a team coming out of the West.
So the question is being ranked.
Yeah,
the question is, will Iowa be the only team ranked at the end of the year? I'm going to go with no, because either there's going to be none, or it's going to be Wisconsin. Wisconsin has the home game against Iowa. They've got the home game against Ohio State. Iowa travels to Penn State this week, so there might be a loss that bumps them out of the top 25. So I'm going to go no, and I would bet on Wisconsin if there is only one at the end.
I'm going to go yes. Someone's got to be ranked from that, and I think it is going to be Iowa. They don't have to play Michigan, Ohio State. Yes, they got Penn State. They'll lose that. So, I mean, they're going to lose, right, at some point. You can still lose games and be ranked. I think it's going to be Iowa from the that terrible, terrible division. Last one, guys. Which Heisman hopeful separates himself a little bit after this weekend?
I'm going to go with the nation's leading rusher, Audric Estime. That Notre Dame offensive line is pretty damn good. And I have seen, this is a different Ohio State team, but I've seen Ohio State struggle stopping the run recently. And I think Estime has a big game on a big stage, adds to his nation's leading total, and vaults himself into a very, very way premature early lead in this.
Well, part of the reason that he's far and away the leader right now is because he's played 4 games.
He played an extra game.
Yeah, and he had 95 yards in that first game. So that's what helps. He's an outstanding running back, and going to be interesting to watch and see what he does. But for me, it's Bo Nix of Oregon who's going to have the chance. He's going to be playing in the game where the most eyes in the nation are watching this week. It's actually a 3:30 game against Colorado. We know how Coach Prime has lit up the ratings. Everybody wants to watch Coach Prime's team. Well, this week they're going to see Coach Prime's team lose, and it's going to be because Bo Nix is going to light up that defense.
There's another big game. It's Ohio State versus Notre Dame, and I think this is where you can separate yourself. I agree with that thought, Gator, that big games, people, more eyes are on you. Marvin Harrison Jr. has a chance to do, wide receiver. I'm not going to say Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to win the Heisman, but he's going to have a big game this weekend to refocus the eyes back on Ohio State and Marvin Harrison Jr. just because it is such a big game.